It's Mack. Welcome back to episode 8 of Icebreaker. Episode 8 of Icebreaker is presented by Premina Source for Sports. We know our stuff, located at 2077 Pembina Highway or sourceforsports.ca, now offering a variety of contactless service options to get you in your gear. So check them out. Real excited about this episode. We got a great one for you today. And of course, we're joined again by our co-host, AJ Light. AJ, how's it going?
I'm good. Check out, I brought my own, like if they put your name up at the bottom of the screen. Is it backwards though?
No, it's good. AJ Light, cool guy.
There you go.
So
Thanks for having me.
I've noticed a new hat on your head today.
You like that?
Nice little bucket style.
You dig that? Yeah. That was made locally, and I'm going to kick myself because I can't remember the name of the company who made it, but it was made here in Winnipeg.
Making it debut on the course?
I think so. It fits better than the other golf hats, so we'll see.
Tell us about that golf injury that you sustained.
It's called trigger finger. Isn't that funny? It's in my pinky. I woke up and my hand was clenched, and I tried to open it, and the pinky wouldn't release. Like it stayed clenched. So I started to Google it. It's called trigger finger, and the only reason I bring it up is because that sounds cool.
Well, normally people get that playing video games or something.
See?
Not golfing. Maybe you're
golfing and hooping. I got a basketball hoop in the back here.
There you go. Did you see any of the PGA Tour today? John Rahm's victory?
I didn't. What happened?
Well, so he won at Muirfield Village, which is Jack's course, and he was running away with it, but then he was up by 8 strokes, and then it got a little bit tighter. And on 16, he holed out from like the rough, but he moved his ball when he was putting his club behind the ball moved, and not known to him at the time, but they were going to assess him a 2-stroke penalty when his round was over. But he ended up winning by 4 strokes, so it didn't mean anything. But at that time, he was within 3 strokes of the other guy, and the other guy was coming on. And if they would have known in the moment, I think that would have been huge. He would have been 1 back with 2 to play.
So hang on, they didn't tell him this until after the round?
After the round.
Oh.
Because there was slow-mo video on it. And when I was watching it, I was with my brother, and I said, his ball just moved. And then all of a sudden they started replaying it, and they noticed it. And so it was becoming a thing. And then at the end of the round, they did assess him a 2-stroke penalty. But in the moment, it would have been 1-stroke lead for him. And who knows what happened.
Think about how much that gets in your head.
Exactly. And for the other guy charging, he's within 1. He was 8 back. He's within 1. But it ended up being a 4-stroke win, and then he won. But, I mean, for me, like, if that's in the moment, who knows what happens?
You tank yourself. You ever been 8 up on somebody?
Come on now. I've been 8 down.
What kind of mentality is that? You think you're cruising?
I've been 8 down, never had the luxury of being 8 up.
Yeah.
The UFC had more fight night this weekend, and this time it was free on TSN and ESPN. And they had the flyweight, like, title fight for the belt.
One of my favorite classes, by the way, flyweight.
It was unbelievable. And so I guess they tried to have this fight a while back, but the one guy didn't make weight. So, and he ended up winning the fight a while back, but he couldn't be crowned the flyweight champion of the world because he didn't make weight. So if the other guy would have won, he would have obviously been crowned. So they had a rematch, and the guy who won last time, Deverson Figueiredo, I think his name is, he won again in the first round by submission, but he knocked the guy down 3. I've never seen power like that in the flyweight. 3 times he like put the guy on his butt, and the guy didn't know where he was.
How often are they going to do these fight nights, these fight islands? Because they're happening pretty frequently now.
Yeah, I think it's 4 events in 15 days or something.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, what else are they doing, right?
People are watching it.
What else are we doing?
Well, that's what I said a few episodes back too. I never watched the UFC before COVID hit, and now I watch it every weekend. Like, it's entertaining.
Have to be a pretty big fight, to get me to tune in. But you're right. I'm not watching them, but I'm catching up on Twitter the day after more than I would find myself doing.
Yeah, and like Saturday night, like this one ended I think at like 9:30, so like it wasn't like we were waiting till 11:45 for the main event. It was an earlier one.
You still got time to get to the spike after that.
Exactly. Time to grab a quick nap before an early morning round.
That's it.
The NHL training camps are underway, and I guess so far so good on the COVID side of things.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many more names popping up on either people who are testing positive or people who are just ducking out of the league completely, right?
And I tell you, for me, like it's so much better to see on social media teams being able to post content and stuff of at practices and at
Mhm.
their scrimmages and stuff. It's just so welcoming. I enjoy watching it. I don't care which team it is, I'll watch it. Did you see Tom Wilson mic'd up from Washington?
No, but he's a gem.
Well, put it this way, every caption for the video is the content we never knew we needed. So it's definitely worth the watch. It's
Okay.
pretty funny. So get him mic'd, get that video going of Tom Wilson mic'd up. Uh, on other mic'd up news, did you see how awkward the Brock Besser one was?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like it's funny because I was just about to say, man, we got to mic up more people in this postseason, and then you bring up Bess, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm glad I didn't say that.
Also, so we talked about last week if they're going to use crowd noise or goal horns.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on you see it on the PGA Tour now because there's no crowd. You can hear the players interacting when they get upset. The mics at ice level during hockey.
There's already slips with like a crowd, right? Like for instance, off the top of my head, it's when you win the cup and they bring the cameras right out onto the ice, right?
Yeah,
How many curse words do you hear in just that small celebration?
so many.
Now we talk about guys playing. So I really don't know. You can't have silence. Nobody's going to enjoy watching just a game and just listening to commentary, no action at all. You can't hear the skates or anything, but I don't know. How mic'd up do they get?
Tune in on NBC. The next slide. Viewer discretion is advised.
Goalies only. Just mic up the goalie.
Yeah, well, we did a good mic'd up goalie segment. One of my
I know.
favorites. Pretty funny.
They're beauties. They're a little crazy, and they've got some time. I bet you how many goalies talk to themselves when the play's out of the zone?
Probably tons. Probably tons.
Mic them up.
So the Toronto Blue Jays, moving into baseball here, they were denied being able to play their home games in Toronto this season, which kind of sucks for them. But at the same time, there's no crowd, so it doesn't really affect much other than the fact that they're gonna have to find a new home, and I don't think they've said where yet. Probably Buffalo, but you can't fault the government for not wanting all these teams coming over the border.
No, absolutely not. Not when you're the only or team, right? Like,
Yeah.
Why make everybody come up here? The same thing happened. I used to work for a team in Thunder Bay, the Thunder Bay Border Cats in the Northern League, and the Northwoods League, and they're now playing out of Duluth. They got the whole league to go and play. They basically took all the teams and condensed them down into 3, and just had them play out a season in Duluth. But it's the same. It's the same thing. It's like it's going to be 1 year, hopefully. Let's just be happy. Are you pumped that baseball's on? Like it's just the tee off, but just seeing it on TV.
I actually am. It's just
so
summer.
such a relief.
It's summer to me. I had the Blue Jays spring or their training camp game on, their inter squad game,
Yeah.
and they had the commentary and the announcers, and I just had it on the background, and it just felt right. It felt like
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's be happy about that.
Of course.
Mm.
Do you see what they're doing there in Toronto for their training camp? They have the players living in the hotel inside Rogers, so they're literally not leaving. It's unbelievable.
It's how it's got to be.
And they open the roof for the guys when it's sunny so they can have some outside time.
Yeah. You kidding me? You wouldn't live there?
100% I would live there.
In a second. That's the
Looks
life.
so cool.
That's the dream.
They were watching the UFC on the Jumbotron from the stands. Like they have their team events. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. No, there's something special about a ballpark. I wouldn't say no to that.
Yeah. I mean, and just having baseball finally back. I saw this poll. It was like how many games are the Blue Jays going to win. They have their schedule. It's like 10 against everybody in the AL East. And then they play so many, like the remaining 20 games, I think, against the NL East. But, I mean, a lot of Yankees, Red Sox, and not even the Blue Jays anymore, but the Yankees and Red Sox are going to play each other 10 times, which is
Beautiful.
phenomenal.
Beautiful. No, I think it's exciting. And not only that, I think it's going to bring more of an audience. I think they're going to pick up an audience of people who just, are missing just the action of sports. And what else is on?
Well, yeah, right now, yeah.
Yeah.
But then hockey's going to, like, this summer is going to be wild for sports.
August 1st, if I'm not mistaken, I saw somebody post his schedule for August the 1st because it's the Jays, the Raptors, and the Jets all play.
Can't wait. I really can't wait.
Set the PVR, man.
It's going to be unbelievable. So we had a question that we put on our social media channels. Yeah. Which songs are most associated with sports? And We Are the Champions by Queen ran away with it on social media. So we're going to right now take that one out of the draft. That's
funny. I didn't even write that one down.
That's the followers pick. So we'll take that one out, but I'll let you go first again. I like picking second, and then I get the last laugh. So
that's true.
Your first pick.
I'm so happy you said that because I thought you were going to steal it from me. Number one song I associate with sports is "Sweet Caroline" by Neil Diamond.
Banger in the sports arenas.
Come on. You know what? It came on the radio probably like last week, and I assume it does often enough, but I don't hear it. It came on the radio, and I thought, when's the last time I heard this and I wasn't in a stadium or an arena?
Never.
And how many other songs do people just make up their own words? So good, so good. Like, where'd that come from? That's not in the song. We just do it because it's a sports anthem.
And every time it's played in an arena, everyone sings.
Oh, banger. My number one pick.
Okay, I like that.
And I'm putting it ahead of We Are the Champions.
Well, you didn't even think of We Are the Champions.
No, I didn't.
So I wouldn't expect anything less. Yeah. My number one pick, because I'm all about getting the crowd fired up, and I have to go with Welcome to the Jungle.
Ooh, that's good.
I associate that with make some noise in every arena or the entrance song for a team, and everybody just gets, I see the towels waving every time I hear it, so I got to go with Welcome to the Jungle with Guns N' Roses.
Side story, if we have time, right before I started working with you, I was doing the sound for the Manitoba Bisons football team. And that's kickoff. Like, as soon as you see them line up for kickoff, just hit that guitar intro on Welcome to the Jungle. That's a good pick, buddy.
Gets everybody going.
My second pick does not get everybody going. Not in the same way that you said. It's absolutely not a banger. My second song associated with sports is Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Yeah.
Technically gets everybody going still. Just
it does.
Nice little stretch. Do you know all the moves?
I don't know all the moves. So I wasn't a huge baseball guy until I lived in Boston for 4 years, and I went to a ton of Red Sox games, and obviously the seventh inning stretch, and they'd always bring like celebrities in to sing it, and it was terrible. Some of the people singing it was terrible, but that's all part of the fun and the tradition of it. Yeah. Great pick.
So I think that definitely makes my list. Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
So I'm going to go with another song that gets people going. We have a little bit of a strategy here, and I'm going with Enter Sandman by Metallica. Another sports song, and it can be any sport. What comes to mind for me is Virginia Tech football and their entrance.
Nice.
And the place is jumping. Like, the whole stadium is jumping, and the team walks through a tunnel and comes on at this certain point in the song every time. And like, you watch the YouTube video and you get chills. I can only imagine what it's like being there.
When those drums hit right before the song really kicks in, bop, 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 and then everybody's going crazy. That's a good pick. You're not going to like my third pick.
Well, we'll see.
Well, it's because it's more than one song.
Oh.
I'm using a technicality because I refer to this as the Jump Trinity. Jump by Criss Cross, Jump by Van Halen, and Jump Around by House of Pain. I get all three of them because they're a package deal.
I've never seen before 3 in 1. I'm not sure if that works, but
I was gonna pick Jump by Van Halen because that's the song the Jets 1.0 used to skate out to, right? And then I started thinking, I was like, House of Pain has a banger in the stadium. And so throwing in Crisscross, it is the 3-for-1 draft pick. The Jump Trinity, my third pick.
and I don't know if you've ever seen the Oregon Ducks, but between quarter 3 and 4, they play Jump, the one from Wedding Crashers.
Which one's in what? That's Crisscross?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
See?
the players all dance to it during mid-quarter swap, and the whole crowd's dancing. It's one of the coolest traditions in college football. So
Good.
I'll give you the 3 in 1 there.
Okay. So I didn't think that was going to work.
And my last pick, I'm going back to deep roots here. Another Queen song, "We Will Rock You."
Yeah.
And every time I hear it, I think back to the Moose 1.0, I guess we could call them. And they had, in the old arena, they had the video boards in the 4 corners, but they're all pixelated. Like it was the early video boards. And they would play "We Will Rock You." And on one side was a gorilla going on his chest, and the other side was a T-Rex. And it's like childhood. I'll never forget it. So that's my third.
Bringing me back. That's a great pick to end on.
Yeah, that's my third pick.
I had a surprise pick. Do you want to know what I was toying with here? Because I didn't think it was good enough. I wonder if you can hear it if I play it. Not a big Vikings fan, but I'm putting Skull Vikings as honorary mention of this.
You want to know my honorary pick that I had a hard time leaving out?
What?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Oh.
That's a sports song right there.
This was a successful draft.
A successful draft it was. And before we get into our interview segment with Gary Lawless and Andrew Huster Paterson, make sure to check us out on the social channels at Icebreaker Show with 2 W's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you're looking for a video option for the show, check us out on YouTube at Icebreaker Show. And if not, listening's cool wherever you listen to podcasts. So we'll hop right into it. Pleased to be joined by Gary Lawless of the Vegas Golden Knights and Andrew Huster Paterson from TSN 1290, formerly known as Huster and Lawless, the radio show. So I guess, how's it going, guys?
That's good. You know, you really had to twist my arm to come and spend a few minutes with Gary today, Mack, but anything for you.
I was laughing when I got your note, Mack. Your dad has done me a ton of favors over the years, and I thought, well, you know, I like you, Mack, so I was happy to do it. But I kind of thought, in some ways, I kind of owe Zinger for a million of the things he's done to me. I go back with him to when he was the assistant general manager of the Manitoba Moose in the IHL. Hustler was working for. We're all connected there because Hustler was working for the team selling tickets at that point in time. And but the kind of the thing that made me laugh, when we started Hustler and Lawless, we were at CJOB, and they had the rights to the Moose. So we did a whole bunch of stuff. You know, we'd have Moose players on all the time. Well, then when we moved to another place,
TSN 1290.
TSN 1290.
Where I happen to be right now. Thanks for remembering.
There was a bit of a chill in terms of the people at CGOB didn't want us to have any guests from the Moose. So they wouldn't let us book guests ever. And, you know, there was a pissing match, but so whenever we needed somebody, we would just ask Zinger to come on, and he would defy the embargo, and he would still come on for us. Good man, your father, as you know.
That sounds about right. And I had this idea. I was like, well, I got to ask Hustler to come on the show. And I was like, well, let's see if we can get the old band back together here for an episode. But you kind of brought it up. How did the Hustler and Lawless show get started?
Well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, it goes back to those days back at the Moose in the rink. I mean, I was working for the team full time. Gary had come to cover the team from Thunder Bay, and you kind of see people. Hey, what's up? You get to know who they are at the rink. But we had a few conversations at a couple of watering holes on tavern on court, and Red Cactus in particular, I remember. And we were always talking about. Gary said, "Hey, if you're ever doing something," I had started doing some video stuff on Shaw for just NFL stuff, very fun, but enjoyed it. And Gary sort of made a push. Hey, if you want to do this, let's do it. And an opportunity came on a very small station on Osborne. It was technically a Christian station at the time.
Christian Rock, Freak 107.
And we got a chance to do it. And I was doing some other stuff for them. And the guy said, hey, if you want to do a sports show, we'd love to have it. We don't really have a budget, but I had a sponsorship background, so I knew we'd be able to make it worth our while. And we got after it and did it. What, Gary? The first ever episode, it was a Saturday morning. It wasn't even called Huster Lawless. It was the Saturday sports page originally. And our good friend Tim Campbell, who was on the show yesterday talking Jets Flames, joined us from the Masters. And obviously the Free Press was a great supporter as well. Got a nice little push and kind of took it from there.
We did it there for about a year on Saturday mornings. And then the story goes that Mitch Grant picked up Vic Grant they were going ice fishing. And it was a Saturday morning in the winter. And they got Vic picked up Mitch. And when Mitch got into the truck, he grabbed the radio station and he turned it off of CJOB, where Vic was Mr. Everything, and put it on Freak 107. And Vic almost threw him out of the car. What are you doing? A, don't touch my radio. B, never take it off of CJOB. And Mitch was like, no, you got to listen to these guys. They're good. And they drove to go ice fishing and they listened to the show. And I was on the road with the Moose. We landed in Hamilton. And I got a phone call from Vic Grant. And I didn't really know Vic very well. I got to know him, obviously, Huster and I call him Uncle Vic now. He's been very important to our careers. But I got into, he called and said, what's your obligation to these guys at Freak 107? And I think Hustler, by that time, they were, I don't know if they were uncomfortable with some of the stuff that we talked about.
The content?
The content wasn't exactly, didn't fit with the religious rock license that they had. So I think we weren't going to get pushed out, but we were coming to loggerheads, I think. So I talked to Vic for a few minutes, and he's like, how do you get paid? And the great negotiator that I was, I told him exactly how we did it. He goes, well, that's how you'd have to do it here, because I don't have any money for you. And so I called Huss, and pretty soon we were on CJOB on Saturday mornings, and we did that for less than a year. And then they offered us the 6 to 8 slot. And we did it there for, how long did we do it, Huss? A couple of years?
Well, we started the first 5 days a week shows was in 2009, because it was during the week of the Calder Cup Finals when the Moose were playing the Hershey Bears. So at that point, and we started at some point, whatever, in 07 or 08, I guess. And then at that point, in 08, I guess we would have been on OB. Then we went to 5 times a day. And then we left shortly after the Super Bowl in 2011. So it was great. OB was amazing. It was an amazing place to work. I mean, Vic, I remember Kevin Wallace working with us. I mean, and for guys like us that were not, I didn't have any sort of broadcasting background. Gary didn't either. So, and the beauty of it was they sort of just let us go and do our thing. I mean, they didn't want us to worry about that stuff. They wanted it to be natural. But man, it was such a great place to work. And you've got other people like Bob Irving in and around there, be able to talk to Bombers. But yeah, so that was the timing. And then obviously with everything that happened, we made the move kind of in between essentially the Super Bowl and the return of the Jets in early 2011. And man, it's hard to believe that that's going to be 10 years coming up in like 6 months.
Yeah, it was crazy. We were so my daughter was born, and we were doing the show from 6 to 8, and I was leaving the house, working my free press job during the day, and then leaving the house at like 5:15 to drive to. We did the show at McPhillips Street Station at the casino, and so like my wife would just be starting to give my daughter dinner, and I'd have to leave. So I'd leave. I'd miss dinner. I'd miss bath time. I'd miss putting her down, reading to her. I'd come home and the house would be quiet, right? And for a guy who was not a family guy forever until I met my wife, and like it quickly became apparent to me that this kind of sucked. And TSN 1290, they were, what were they called? Sports Radio 1290.
Yeah.
And the only local content they had was the Illegal Curve show on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Everything else was out of Toronto at the start. And they came to us and said, we'll give you, it was 4 to 6 was what they offered us. And, there was a whole bunch of other stuff going on. But I remember we had this meeting at CJOB. They found out that 1290 had made us an offer, and they called us in and they made us another offer. But it was more than anything, it was the time.
Yeah.
Like the opportunity for me to be done at 6 and be home with my family. I said to Hustler, you can stay, pal. I don't want you to stay. I want you to come with me, but this is CJOB, this other thing, who knows where it's going to go. I did say to Huss, I said, I think, in baseball parlance, we can stay at OB and hit a double, and we'll hit doubles forever. We could go to this place and maybe strike out, but we do have a chance to hit a home run. And he looked at me, and he had a Honda Civic, and he looked at me and he said, "Lawman, is it going to work?" And I just looked at him. I said, "I think so." And he stuck out his hand and he said, "Okay, let's do it." And like it's one of the greatest acts of friendship that I've had in my life. Like he just he understood where I was coming from in terms of the family perspective, and he didn't want to break up the band. So it was fantastic. I love Andrew like a brother. That's no secret, but that's one of the reasons why it was a great thing. And within so this is February, or I don't know. When did we launch? We launched in February, didn't we?
Well, no, because we got back from the Super Bowl and we're off the air for about 6 weeks or so. And again, the first night we ended up going on to 1290 was the night that Brunt put in the Globe and Mail that the Jets were coming back. So that sped everything up. We went in. I don't remember whether we started the show daily right afterwards, but the schedule had been moved up a little bit. And I mean, again, this is March. We kind of go to this station that is relatively unknown at the time. And within the next 3 months, the Jets come back, everything's announced. And then obviously the ball keeps rolling with TSN. Ended up working with the Jets on both the radio and the television side. So
we went from this station, like literally it was 1290, and then it becomes TSN 1290. And then in August, I can remember I was at my cottage and Chris Brook, the program director, phoned me at the cottage and said, "We got the Jets rights." And I was like, "Shut up." Because everyone thought they were going to CJOB. And, he said, "No, we got the Jets rights." And it was just like, it was insane. So like we hit the home run way quicker than I thought.
No kidding.
Well, and I got to say, I mean, many people are going back, what said for years afterwards, "Oh, you guys knew what was happening." That honestly wasn't the case at all. Right. I mean, the way Gary described it is true. I mean, it was a great opportunity for us. And I think me, maybe more than him, I mean, I have always been a sports radio guy. I mean, even as a kid, I'd be listening whatever OB had on locally, trying to get the Minneapolis station on the AM radio. I mean, I really believed in the format, and at least maybe this is my closed circle. But, I mean, the people that I talk to are listening to it. They're talking about it. I knew there was a market for it. And, I mean, I think we were sort of blessed as well in that we both had very successful jobs outside of that gave us the opportunity to really take a chance. I mean, like if I had just come out of Creecom or something like that and it had that opportunity and we'd just been at like the #1 station like OB for 18 months, might have been tougher to make that move.
Right.
But our situation really, I mean, it led to us betting on ourselves. And, you know, in that case, it worked. But honestly, I mean, it was, I liken it to when we made that move and everything that happened with the city, the team coming back, and obviously the relationship between the team and TSN, we sort of made that move and had about a 10-year career advancement in about 6 months.
Right.
Because, I mean, even though we were confident that we'd be able to bring a lot to the station and really get it going, I mean, to see the way the interest went like that was pretty difficult to predict. But we were quite happy that it went that way.
No kidding. Gary, you said you guys are like brothers, and with brothers comes a few little arguments, and you guys have been known to have a couple of dust-ups on air. What comes to mind when I say that?
Well, we do. It's funny, like we see the world completely different. Like I've never played fantasy football. I've never played a video game.
Completely out of touch, basically.
And I am old school in the fact that I would, I would, make my calls, do my reporting, and then kind of, form my opinions in that manner. And Andrew is comes from the fan perspective. So, listen, the whole job as a sports columnist is to write things that are provocative, so that I would always say when a couple gets out of bed in the morning, I want one of them to say, I hate Gary Lawless, and I want the other one to say, I love Gary Lawless. That's the whole secret of the job. So I think for Hustler, one day he'd think, oh, Lawman, you're so smart. And one day he'd go, you are such a jerk. And we would get pretty heated on air for sure. It was, but it was always, it was, well, I wouldn't say it was professional, but it was, but it wasn't an act. Like we really, we had chemistry that Bob Irving said that to me very early on. He goes, look, you can't manufacture it. You can't buy it. He goes, what you guys have is once in a lifetime. And it was fun going to work every day. And we would do one segment where we would agree wholeheartedly. And the next segment we were ready to throw stuff at one another.
I mean, the beauty of it all is, and once in a while, a few things like that happen. But much like Gary's analogy to being brothers, I mean, we could be going at it, killing each other. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And you are so out to lunch and go at it, and to the point where people might be getting uncomfortable listening to it. And then we go to a break, take a breath, or go take a leak and come back and laugh before going into the next segment. And that's why it was always fun to do the show. I mean, a lot of the things were natural, but I mean, as far as massive, fights or anything like that, I mean, it was all based on topics. It was all just general passion for whatever we were talking about. But I mean, 99.9% of the time when we finished the show and, left, we were always pretty happy and on good terms, and we're able to get up and do it again the next day, I guess, which is what it's all about.
No, it definitely made for good listening. I guess one more here before I let you guys go. Obviously, Gary, you're tied in with the Golden Knights, and Huss, you have people from the Jets on your show all the time. So what's the mood around training camp and the return to play here?
I'll let Gary go with that one.
Well, it's great. I think, the big question mark right now is once they get to their hub cities, they'll be fine, right? They're going to be enclosed, and unless somebody brings it in, I think they're going to be able to get this done. It's the next 10 days or so to get to July 26th with everybody healthy. That's the big thing. I think the NHL has done the best job of any of the leagues. And I think, Vegas was supposed to be a hub city right to the very end. And then I think it was so smart of the league to keep their options open. And when the case counts started to skyrocket in the U.S., to be able to pivot and go, okay, we're going to go to Edmonton and Toronto, where there's very little of the virus. I think that was, one of the, it made Bettman and his people look like they really were, they had a great plan and they were able to execute it. So very, very cool.
Your team's been actually together for a while. That's one of the biggest differences talking to Gary. I mean, how many nights were around there? We talked to Pittsburgh. They had a bunch of guys. The Jets challenge, with getting everybody and kind of starting this week without having, a couple weeks of phase two. I think that's the reason why we've got all this time before getting into it. But, I mean, as far as, from my perspective, obviously focus far more on the Jets. It's just fantastic to have hockey back and content and things to talk about for me as a broadcaster. But just as a dude, I mean, we've gone through 4 months, and I mean, there's a lot of people certainly that listen to our show and, that are going to be looking at this, that sports is a huge part of their life. And it has just been so barren that there's a real level of excitement just to get back to being able to do the things we do as sports fans. And as far as the Jets goes, I mean, I'm really excited for this round against the Calgary Flames, Mac. I mean, you've got a team that, was coming together, looks significantly different than it did earlier in the year, got a couple reinforcements, particularly DeMello on the blue line, that I think legitimately gave Jet fans a lot of optimism that they would be a tough out no matter what. You got a goalie that'll probably win the Vezina Trophy. You've got the most 20 goal scorers on the league up front. So, I mean, I think the Jets should go in with a why not us mentality, and more often than not, it's just going to be fantastic. And just quickly on playoffs, I mean, we're looking forward to playoff hockey, and certainly the Jets were in a race where we were hoping that we would see playoff hockey in a whiteout in Winnipeg. But I have to tell you, one of the things that I was most disappointed as far as the casualties of COVID-19 was the Winnipeg Ice. I mean, I literally every single day I would look at the standings to see where the Ice and where the Wheat Kings were, because I just thought for a team coming in year number one, to have the Ice and the Wheat Kings play in a best-of-7 playoff series, what that would have done for junior hockey, for the franchise in Manitoba, I think would have just been incredible. So, I mean, I was, devastated for all the kids that didn't get to play and the people. I mean, obviously all of those real stories that, affect people in their livelihoods. But I got to tell you, from a fan perspective, that was another thing that, I mean, I could not wait to see. And unfortunately, we'll have to wait a little while before we get a real battle of Manitoba in the playoffs, because, man, those regular season games between the two clubs were great.
Hey, Mac, we've got Peyton Krebs in camp here.
I was just going to ask.
It's funny. I can remember at draft day, it was in Vancouver, and he had that Achilles injury, and he fell to where we drafted. And I think the Jets tried to trade up to get him. I think probably you and your brother Jake were in your dad's ear talking about how good he was. But you tell me, how good is he?
He's an unbelievable player. I mean, I got to watch him for the better half of this season. And when he first came back, he was still really good. And I was like, wow, like this, he can play. And then, just talking with Jake, he's like, well, wait, he's just coming back. Towards the end of the season, we were in Lethbridge, and him and Cousins, obviously two great players in the Western Hockey League. And it was really something to watch. Like Peyton's a great player. His work ethic is compete. And I mean, you're probably seeing it all on a day-to-day basis now, but just the way he approaches the game, it's like he's 28.
Yeah, well, it'll be he's rooming with Mark Stone. So when he was injured and he came here to rehab, he lived at Stone's house. I can remember I was parking my car one day, and Peyton rolls in a Bentley one day, and I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, that's Stoney told me to take the car that was closest to the driveway. And he was kind of embarrassed, right? And then he's living with Mark Stone again now, and like it's pretty wild, the Manitoba connection in our room. And it starts with Kelly McCrimmon at the top, and then there's Shane Knighty and Darren Millard in our broadcast group. And while I'm not from Manitoba, I consider myself a Manitoban now, still have a home there. And like to go back there in the summer. Then you get to the players, and we've got Stone, White Cloud, Reeves, Glass, Colasar, Krebs. We traded Cody Eakin to the Jets, which broke my heart. I love Cody. That's the first trade that's ever bothered me in my career. Like, I never really, when I didn't work for a team and I was covering a team and they traded a guy, I'd be like, oh, okay, he was a good guy. See you later. Like Cody, I've known him since he was 14. And my daughter, I said, do you want a Golden Knights jersey? And she was like, yeah. I said, what number? 21. You know, like, she wanted Cody's jersey. When I told her that he got traded, she started to cry. So you guys are going to love him in Winnipeg. He's a great player and one of the best people I've met in hockey.
I got to tell you just quickly on Krebs. I mean, smarter people that do it for a living will talk about what he does on the ice. But I mean, we talk to, hundreds, thousands of people every year on the program. And, often we'll have junior hockey kids that'll come on that, are obviously not experienced in the format. Peyton Krebs, honestly, one of the most impressive young men we have ever talked to. And man, he's just a pleasure to have on every time. And you can just tell from some simple conversations that this is a young man that really gets it, that is really driven, and is going to bring much more than natural talent to an organization. So certainly, it'd be great to see him back with the ice this year, but pretty clear that he's got a very, very bright future in the National Hockey League down in Sin City.
Well, and he told Huss on air that he's been working on his golf game because he got embarrassed when he was there last summer. So make sure to ask him about that and how he's holding up. But thanks, guys, for joining the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Mac. This is the only way I'll talk to Hustler now. So I'm done with him now for another. Well, that's not true. They call me for a free appearance on the Hustler and Lawless. Oh, sorry, on the.
You can buy a segment sponsorship if you want.
What's your show called now? What's your show called?
Oh, thanks for listening, jerk.
What's it called? The Afternoon Drive? Which one are you? Afternoon or Drive?
I'm going to do a big segment you on the warm-up, the transformation of Gary Lawless from kind of okay guy to 100% jerk.
I'm a heel. I've turned. It's fantastic.
The heel heat is real. Hey, in closing, Mack, as you can see, it was very easy to be the good cop for all those years on the show.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Great stuff.
All right.
I hope everybody enjoyed that interview as much as I did. Those guys were a treat to have on the show and talk and listen to about, their days as Hustler and Lawless and what they're up to now. So I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure to check us out on the social channels, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Icebreaker Show with 2 W's. That's at Icebreaker Show with 2 W's. And again, we love hearing from you guys. Tweet us, Facebook message us, Instagram message us, whatever you want. Love hearing from you, what you'd like to see next, who you might want to hear on the show, and of course your feedback as always. And if you're looking for a video option for the show, we are on YouTube at Icebreaker Show, and of course wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple Music, Spotify, wherever, you'll find us there. Tell your friends about us if you enjoy it, and we look forward to bringing another great episode to you next week. Depending on when you're listening to this episode, I hope you have a great week. Hope it was a great start to your week. And as always, we look forward to seeing you next week.